Hi everyone, I'm here to show you this traveler's notebook that I made for my granddaughter for Christmas, but I ran out of time before I gifted it to her on Christmas Day, so I borrowed it back for a few days to get this video made. The closure is coffee dyed sari silk ribbon. And the cover is Tim Holtz paper. This is Tim Holtz paper that I used to make this front pocket. I sewed around the edges and glued down 3 sides to make the pocket. And this is a scan of an antique book in my collection. It's called Aids to Composition: The Means by Which Excellence May Be Attained in Writing. And my granddaughter Ashley is a writer, so this is a vintage writing themed traveler's notebook. This is a year's supply of stationery. That's a scan from a 1918 catalog. A pale pink library card that's available in a set of pastel colored library cards in my Etsy shop. This is an antique ledger page from 1834. This particular title is Books, Binding and Stationery, and I printed that on coffee dyed paper, and I inked the creased edges to make it look older. That's also available in a set of in my Etsy shop. This is a quote: "The pen is mightier than the sword," and I just printed that on coffee dyed cardstock and sewed the edges and then glued down 2 of the edges just to make it a tuck spot. This is a piece of the old computer paper. This is a book page from a vintage grammar English book, textbook. This is a book plate. It's not old enough to be in the public domain, I don't believe. And it just says "from the library of." So this is an original, taped down with Tim Holtz washi tape. And Ashley is a writer, or I guess I said that already. But because she's a writer, I created this in Photoshop, and I used for the background an antique dictionary page with the words write, writer, and writing on it, and then I just created this band with her name on it and printed that on cardstock, coffee dyed cardstock paper, and inked up the edges. And this is a vintage catalog library catalog card. It's an original. This is one of the ATC alphabet cards. It's available in my Etsy shop. Just created a tuck spot out of that with dictionary definitions for write, writer, writing. This Williams typewriter ad is printed on lightly coffee dyed paper, and I inked up the edges. That's available as a freebie on my blog. This is coffee dyed handmade paper, a page from a vintage steno book, and this chapter 3, I just printed that on coffee dyed cardstock and sewed the edges, glued down 3 of them to make a pocket. And in the pocket is this vintage advertisement for George S. Parker fountain pen. That's available as a freebie on my blog. And this is Tim Holtz paper in the background. Back side of the Tim Holtz paper. This is a vintage typewriter lesson, a page from a vintage typewriter lesson book. And this is a digital stamp of a stack of books. And a pink original vintage bus ticket. This is a dictionary definition for story that's available as a set from a set that's in my Etsy shop. And this is an image that's also available in my Etsy shop in a writing paper pack that I created since I made this book. Either side of that grammar textbook page, some vintage note paper, another one of the dictionary definition flashcards, and I created this tape to make it look old. Coffee dyed onion skin paper, coffee dyed note paper, that's one that I seem to favor. I put it in most of my journals that are vintage style, and that's available from a set in my Etsy shop. A days of the week calendar paper with a lined background, a small green vintage ledger page, a digital stamp of ink, an ink bottle, a calendar, and a pen. This is a pastel blue library card, and this is a library book plate that I haven't shared that anywhere yet, I don't think. And this is a corner pocket that I made with Tim Holtz paper, and a book page with a bit of cheesecloth and coffee dyed copy paper, and then a ticket on top. And then this is one of the postcard tickets, postcard ephemera bit anyway, from my Etsy shop. And the center page is a page from Newsworthy, I believe it is. Newsworthy paper pack it's sold at Hobby Lobby. And Ashley flew to New York City last year to attend a writing conference, so I thought that was appropriate for her book. And the dictionary definition for the word right, and this, I've made a tuck spot out of it to hold this vintage advertisement for Blickensder for typewriting machines. That's printed on coffee dyed paper and inked. I inked the edges, and that's available as a freebie on my blog. This is a vintage envelope that's naturally colored with age, and I've just got it paper clipped on the other side with the flashcard word of desk. And then this vintage desk image here. And this is a journaling card, how to find a word. I scanned that from an antique dictionary in my collection. Just put these back later. And the other side of the ledger page, the other side of that calendar page, notebook page, coffee dyed onion skin paper, another notebook page, the English grammar page. This is pocket made with Tim Holtz fabric that I sewed onto just a piece of copy paper to give it a little extra stability to be able to hold these pieces of ephemera in place. And this is the pastel green library card from that set in my shop, and this is one of the antique alphabet cards. And this Yoast digital stamp that's available in my the image is available on my blog as a freebie. The other side of that typewriter paper. This I scanned from an antique book in my collection, all about writing. And the back side of the page, I scanned them both and printed them back to back. And I included this image and this first part about writing on the paper pack that I created after I made this book, the writing themed paper pack. Tim Holtz paper, Stenopad paper. This is an advertisement for a Densmore typewriter that's available as a freebie on my blog. This is a scan from 1918 catalog, and it's a massive colonial design. It's a bookcase. This is a flash card from the set in my shop, and it's glued down on two of the sides to make a tuck spot. And I have this scan of from an antique magazine that's all about books that were for sale around that time, the late 1800s. And this is just 2 pages glued together. Like Nick the Booksmith refers to that as Franken pages. And so I glued them together, and then I just stitched for the looks of it. And this Tim Holtz typewriter washi tape, I just added that for the looks too. And these are 2 library cards that are available on my blog. They're free on my blog. I just printed them on coffee dyed cardstock and inked up the edges. And this is the original library card pocket that they are from. I haven't shared that anywhere yet. This is a digital stamp that's available on my blog as a freebie. And this is also available, just scanned from an antique book page, is also available as a freebie on my blog. It's titled Pens, Pencils, and Paper Cutters, and I just printed this on coffee dyed paper and inked up the creases and inked the edges just to make it look more original, antique. And the back is also Tim Holtz paper that I made this pocket out of. And I will just show you the previews that I have printed. The things that are available in my Etsy shop that I used in this book. So this is the set that I created after I made Ashley's book, and so there are some images on here that are not included in the book, and it's also available in coffee dyed background. And then if you use the white background, you can print your pages on coffee dyed paper or parchment paper. And so in this book I used, this is part of that one page that was titled Writing. This was the title, and this was included, and this was included in the book, and this desk picture, digital stamp was included, and this year's supply of stationery was included in the book. These are the vintage colors of library cards that is available in my shop. These are the vintage flashcards with a school theme. And for this particular book, I used desk and book. And these are the vintage inspired dictionary definition cards. And I use write, imagine, and story. These are the antique alphabet ATC cards. And I used 2 or 3 sets. 2 or 3 of these cards from the set in Ashley's journal. These are the printable vintage post office cards, and I think I just used this one. These are the printable book pages antique ledger, and I just used this one, the 1834, titled Books, Binding, and Stationery. And this is a printable paper pack, aged note papers, and I just used this one note paper. This is the same package, but a different preview. This is the one I used, and I tend to favor that when I use it in most of the journals that I make with a vintage theme. And that's it. Thank you for watching.